Welcome back to another episode of Ballers, Beers, and Banter. I'm your host, Dave. Here with me, I forgot anything cool, so I'm just going Anthony and Moose. Welcome.
What's
Hello.
up?
Sorry, guys. I got so distracted with my double beers today that I didn't come up with a creative name.
You probably
That's
should have
okay.
just named us each one of your two beers.
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to save that. They're thematic for the podcast, so I'll save that. I probably should have went with something to do with something we're going to talk about today, which would have been, something to do with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Michael Thomas. So much happening today. Can't wait to get into all that headlines and business. But first, how are you guys?
Fantastic.
Doing well.
Okay. Did you have a good weekend?
Great weekend.
What was the Kelvin like over on the East Coast today, or out east? where you guys are?
Easily up at 295.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. So sunscreen it up.
Yeah.
We had Kelvin was roaring out here on the West Coast, and actually, the wildfires they're raging again in BC. I haven't checked California. I'm sure it's an issue in California, and we set a record here in Victoria. It sounds delightful, but it's not because of the wildfires. The record was 41 days of no rain in Victoria, and we're past it. Not a good record to have in wildfire season. So we need some rain. We need 1 day of rain. So I'm enjoying the sun, but I am aware that it's not great for everyone out here. So as a PSA to everyone out there on the West Coast, or if you're in a wildfire area, state, province, whatever, just, follow the guidelines. Don't have open fires. If you are allowed to, do it under the regulations and take care of it. As Smokey the Bear says, only you can prevent forest fires. Isn't that right, Moose?
That is what I've been told.
That's what you've been told. Awesome. Guys, getting back to, so last episode we talked about Darrell Henderson. I just want to jump in, just start with Darrell Henderson real quick. So I put a poll on
hold on real quick. You sure there's no other sports news you want to talk about?
Well, the Olympics have started.
We're going to go right into Darrell Henderson.
I mean, the Summer Olympics have started. Hashtag Tokyo 2020, even though it's 2021. You got to keep the brand. Have you guys been watching?
No, I haven't. I put it on today, and it was just commercials and really boring announcers. No sports showed up for like the 20 minutes that I was watching.
Well, that's terrible. You're catching the highlights because it happens like 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. And then the exciting stuff for swimming, which is like the most exciting, obviously for me. The finals happen in the evening. They're going to be happening about an hour today. It's Sunday, July 25th right now, and it's going to be happening real soon. Shout out to our women's 4x100 freestyle relay, Canada, who claimed Canada's first medal at these Olympic Games with their silver on the relay. It was very exciting. So everybody should go out and catch that.
And also in other sports, the U.S. Olympic basketball team lost against France. First time since a long time.
1984 or something like that.
They're in trouble. They're in trouble. The dream team reign is over. I mean, they don't have all their superstars, but they lost 2 exhibition games in Vegas. They lost their first one to France. Moose, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, I was joking about talking about other sports.
I know.
I let it slide because it was the Olympics, but now it's really sliding.
Okay. Relax. People like basketball. All right. Well, let's reel it in. Fishing sport for you. We can talk about fishing, Moose. I know you love fishing.
No, I'm good. I'd rather.
Okay. We'll jump into some football. And last episode we talked about the Cam Akers injury. Achilles injury is out for the season. Darrell Henderson jumps in to fill that role. And we discussed where we would draft him, what we think the prospects are for Darrell Henderson Jr. And we put a poll up on our Instagram story, which if you're not already following us is 3B Fantasy Pod on Instagram. You can also get us on Twitter, Facebook, and Gmail. The same thing, 3B Fantasy Pod. And most fans voted on the poll. The poll was, would you take Darrell Henderson in round 5 or earlier or after round 5? Most people said after round 5. So I think that's more where you guys were leaning. So you are men of the people, because our followers, who are pretty wise to fantasy football, they're not. It feels like they're not jumping on the Darrell Henderson stock. So maybe it's just me.
What is that? Is it Dracus from Gladiator? I am a man of the people for the people.
Who, the Commodus, the Emperor?
No. It's the The Senator.
The Senator.
Guy.
Oh, Senator Dracus. Yeah. You're right.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. Good movie.
You should rewatch
It's
this great movie.
Such a good movie. Such a good movie. Well, it doesn't have to do with football though, Moose. Should we talk about it or
no? We
move
shouldn't.
on? Okay.
Save it for later.
Save it for later. when the Russell Crows come home. Guys, I'm drinking 2 beers today, so I'm going to mention this beer, and it's it's called Cutthroat West Coast Ale from Tree Brewing Company, and I got it because the NFL is a cutthroat league. It's a cutthroat league, and we talked last week, and I sort of misspoke, so I want to make sure our listeners have it completely accurate for our listeners, and that is about these new COVID restrictions for the NFL. And they are, and Moose corrected me, but I want to make sure everyone caught it, that if your team has to forfeit a game due to a COVID outbreak from unvaccinated players, you lose, you forfeit. It's an L on the record. So, and then of course, all unvaccinated players have the same restrictions they had last year. So if you're away, you can't go out of the hotel. You have to eat your lunch in your car separately from everyone, like all the crazy restrictions, daily testing, everything. So basically, there's a message from the NFL that it's going to be very difficult to be an unvaccinated player this year.
Well, and they also came out and said they would get fined like $15,000 or something.
Yeah, which I guess is not much for them, but still.
Well, it's not nothing, I guess.
Still something. Yeah, it's not nothing. $14,000. Anyways, it's a cutthroat league. It's a cutthroat league, and it's all about the money. And if you're going to jeopardize the money, and they just don't have room to reschedule games this year because of the 18-week schedule. So it's going to be very interesting. Of course, we talked last episode about some of those players it might affect, and we'll see now that training camps are opening up. Some had last week, some more this week coming. We'll see how that's affected. Already 2 coaches let go that I know of. The Minnesota Vikings run game coordinator. I'm sure Dalvin Cook could be fine. And the Patriots offensive line coach, Gown. And then we'll see what happens with players. But it's cutthroat business. It's cutthroat business, which is also something Aaron Rodgers would tell you. That the Packers' approach is pretty cutthroat. You know, we have Brett Favre. He's great. Let's draft Aaron Rodgers. Favre, you're out of here. And then here comes Rodgers, and he has a great, I don't know, what has it been, 14-year reign or whatever it's been. And then last year they draft Jordan Love, and but Aaron Rodgers goes out and has an MVP season, has a great year, and looks like he doesn't want to be a Green Bay Packer anymore. He might play this year, but it's all up in the air, and there's so much drama. I mean, I'm here for it, but I'm also over it. Did you see that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams posted the same photo of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen kind of giving each other a dap from The Last Dance? AKA, it's sort of like, so what they were hinting at is what people are taking it as, this is their last dance, and then they're gone after this. Just what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, it's got to end sometime.
And I mean, with everything going on, like, yeah, what you guys said, you guys were confident he's going to play this year and like show up and play week 1. So, I mean, with all this BS going on, like, I'm pretty sure this is the last season. I don't think that was surprising to anyone.
For me, I don't know. It's a very black and white situation for me. You know, it's either the organization changes to whatever Aaron Rodgers wants and they get to keep an amazing athlete, or they keep the infrastructure and culture and whatever they have, and Aaron Rodgers leaves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see the gray area in all of this. It's business.
Well, you bring up the business side of it. So we reported last week from Adam Schefter that Aaron Rodgers turned down a contract extension that would have tied him to Green Bay for the next 5 years and would have made him the highest paid player in the NFL. Now, reports are surfacing that what Rodgers asked for was 2 years at $90 million fully guaranteed. Yeah. Which would also make him the highest paid player annually at $45 million a year. Oh, no. Patrick Mahomes is $50 million a year. So it wouldn't be highest paid, but fully guaranteed $90 million. Is that asking too much?
Well, I don't know. It all depends on, I mean, it's like buying a painting. If you think it's worth that much, you spend the money. if you think that young quarterback you drafted, if it's now his time because your current quarterback is too expensive, then that's the road you got to go down.
How many 90 million paintings are you buying there, Moose?
Many.
Oh, many, multiple.
You know what I mean? So it's if they think that that's what he's worth, that's what he wants, or give into his demands. You want to keep him, then you have to give into the demands, or you let him go, and you have to start, over, so to speak, at the quarterback position with Jordan Love.
With Jordan Love. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. But to me, the Last Dance photo at least is kind of a good sign for fantasy football players this year, because for redraft, at least, it seems like Rodgers will still be there and Davante Adams. They're going to give it one more go. And if it's anything like the Last Dance for Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, it should be pretty good. Should be pretty good. And hopefully for them, they're hoping it ends up in a Super Bowl. For you listeners at home and fantasy players, you're hoping it ends up in a fantasy football championship. Which, as long as Aaron Rodgers plays, he'd be, I'm sure he's more than capable of leading you to one. Anthony, you've been awful quiet about.
Well, I mean, Green Bay crumbling is great for me, because as a Bears fan, Green Bay has been a pain in my butt for so long. But the Aaron Rodgers thing, I've mentioned before, I thought he wasn't going to start the year. I'm pretty sure he will now, but I knew it was going to be his last year. Davante Adams, I don't really blame him. He didn't win the Super Bowl with him, with the Green Bay Packers. So, I mean, he wants to win a Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there, and with all the talks about Jordan Love and all that QB controversy, he probably wants to go to a team where he has a shot to win it again, because it's going to be a rebuild with Green Bay.
Or, Moose, you're going to love this. You know where he's been hinting at, or at least where he's being recruited to, is the Las Vegas Raiders with Derek Carr. They play together in college.
I said that quite a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think that would be amazing for Las Vegas.
For Las Vegas, for sure.
Yeah.
Not great for Deonte Adams.
No. Well, I mean, you have to be determined here, but at first glance, obviously Aaron Rodgers is better than Jordan Love. But in Las Vegas, I mean, that'd be absolutely incredible for Las Vegas.
Yeah. If it's a tire fire with Derek Carr this year, I mean, they're gonna look to draft a quarterback this coming draft.
So we all know that Las Vegas is rebuilding, and they've literally rebuilt at every position except quarterback, because for some reason, they wanted to, they think Derek Carr has one more year in him to be Derek Carr, and I think if they got Aaron Rodgers, holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean, what was that Brady news like? A few months ago, Brady hinted that there was a team that said, "No, we don't want you. We're sticking with the quarterback we have," and that all signs point to it being the Raiders. So
no. Now the latest is that the teams that Tom Brady was interested in but weren't interested in him were San Francisco and Miami. And
Garoppolo.
It's one of those. So he was either referencing Jimmy Garoppolo, who he dealt with in New England and had to beat out to keep his job, or he was referencing Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was the starter for Miami before they drafted Tua, because this would have been before Tua was drafted. So it might have been one of those two. And either way, they're certainly regretting not having Tom Brady. Most teams in the league who don't have their franchise quarterback are regretting it, but certainly if you're Miami, you could have had Tom Brady play. They could have won the Super Bowl with Brady, and then Tua just learns from him. Why wouldn't you do that? And Brian Flores is from New England. He knows Tom Brady. So it was one of those, or San Fran, one of the two. That's the latest, but I love that. I love the drama, the rumors. Great. Yeah, so it might not have been Derek Carr, but Tom Brady did call one of his contemporaries a bad word, which you can't say.
Yeah, that's it.
You're sticking with that. MF, you can fill in the blank.
But sticking with that guy would mean it would be already an established quarterback. So it wouldn't be them saying, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Miami, because Miami for sure wouldn't have said Fitzpatrick's our guy. They probably knew they were going to draft a quarterback, or they knew Fitzpatrick was going to be the guy for a little bit, but they were drafting a quarterback
with
But we know Brady's looking for an extended contract. They probably want to go with young talent. And I mean, Garoppolo made it to the Super Bowl with them. We say this countless times that he was able to get the team there.
Yeah, I guess making it to the Super Bowl is about as good as winning a 7.
Yeah, but you never know how a player. Look, a lot of people didn't think Brady had enough.
You're right. I didn't. I didn't. You know, I was like, I'm not
Moose
so sure.
didn't either. That was the whole debate with Tampa Bay, and I was like, you give
and
him.
Moose is never wrong. If we've learned anything,
I mean, I mean, well done, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, but like Patrick Mahomes was pretty banged up in that Super Bowl.
Well, right, but just as far as performance, leave the Super Bowl out of it.
Won, but I'm saying let's be honest here. If Patrick Mahomes was healthy, I think that game could have been a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Or if he had O-line, which he does this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dangerous. All right. Speaking of Tom Brady, since we're on that train, did you guys see the recent video that's circulating on the old World Wide Web, where Tom Brady's throwing passes into the football launching machine that like spins its 2 wheels and the football flies out of it? And he threw 3 in a row, 2 from 10 yards. Then he steps back to 15 and launches another one, and it falls over and pops out. Have you seen this video?
No.
Yes.
Okay. I sent it to you on Instagram. Moose, would you open up the things I sent you on Instagram, please?
The man's been camping.
He gets reception. He answered a text message. He can look at the Instagram video. Go check it out. Moose, watch it right now as I'm explaining it. Go ahead and watch it. And so, Anthony, you've seen it. So, number one, do you think it's real or fake?
I don't know. With social media nowadays, you can't trust anything. And with Brady being a troll nowadays and being more of a jokester, I don't believe
it. If the Tomorrow War starring Chris Pratt can make those monsters look so realistic,
oh, here we go.
Then they can make anything look edited, look unedited. But I think it's real because it's too tough to. Anyways, I don't know. But I think it's real. If it is, it's just cool. I'd like the new Tom Brady. The new Tom Brady's all about.
Would we be surprised? No.
If it was fake, or you'd be surprised if it was
both
real?
ways.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty real. I thought maybe it was like shot
in reverse
and then put in reverse, but
it doesn't seem like it's in reverse because he does multiple throws. And if he did, he would have to reverse his throwing motion.
But he would have to catch it in a throwing motion.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it could be edited, but I don't think so. I think it's real. It's super cool. Go check it out, fans. I'll tell you what, I'll repost it on our Instagram. Anthony, repost it on our Instagram right now so our fans can check it out. 3B Fantasy Pod.
But I mean, I don't think it's that unrealistic. I mean,
couple buttons, not hard.
We come from the land of hockey, and I mean, we've seen some of the accuracy on these guys shooting hockey pucks. I don't see why. You think about guys who throw darts professionally. There's no reason why Tom Brady couldn't also have that kind of accuracy.
Tom Brady does throw darts professionally, Miss.
I'm putting it down as 100% real.
Me too. Plus, he's just so cool. I'm a big fan of the new Tom Brady. Maybe not the new Tom Brady, but the Tom Brady we now are privy to seeing on social media. New England Tom Brady is awesome. The throwing the Lombardi Trophy to Gronk on the other boat.
I mean,
Tom Brady. Brady.
Moose winning fantasy championships and having his actual football team win Super Bowls. I mean, it was just too much.
Those were the good years.
That is too much. All right. Moving on. We'll stick with quarterbacks, guys. Deshaun Watson reported to training camp. It was quarterback day to report the quarterbacks were in, and he's there, which is potentially somewhat surprising because, there's some allegations against him, 1, but 2, he categorically, before those allegations came out, categorically refused to play for Houston, right? And is demanding trade. His stance is still that he demands a trade, but he's there. So
yeah, but every day he doesn't show up, he would lose $50,000.
He would lose $50,000 pocket change for a guy who makes.
Well, I mean, you don't try and get like these big contracts and then like
just to waste it. All you have to do is show up to camp. Like it's not. Easy $50K.
But the news we talked. Do the math. Like, what's $50K to do the math here? Do some cross multiplication.
I don't. Have
$40 million a year.
To do the math. It doesn't matter. What's $50K to you? $50K is $50K. Doesn't change how much you make. It's still $50,000.
I know, but if he was really adamant, it's not hurting him. It's like 50. It's not even $50. Is it
but every day? So that's 2 days. That's $100,000.
And I think he's also doing this, like just showing that he's still into football with all this stuff going on. Because we talked about Philadelphia. What was the news we reported last episode? I don't remember the exact thing.
There's one reporter that the one reporter is is convinced that 90% chance he gets
right. And if there's a chance he can go anywhere else, whether it's Philly or whichever team, showing up to camp shows that he's willing to put in work or, put differences aside. So it looks good on him, because it surprised me that he showed up to camp.
Yeah. One of the other things that's sort of circulating is that it also shows that the NFL likely won't penalize him.
Right.
Or give him any kind of, whatever suspension for the non-criminal legal issues that are happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, probably looks that way. So keep your eye on that, fantasy football fans. Judge how the situation how you will, but if you're just looking to play fantasy football and ignore everything else, Deshaun Watson did drop down the mock draft boards. CDP plummeted, so when normally he would be around 4 or 5 type guy. So,
and I would love for him to go to Philly, because those receivers in Philly, their stock would just shoot up with Deshaun Watson being there. I mean,
okay. I mean, Deshaun Watson's better than Jalen Hurts right now, but I think Jalen Hurts can be just as good.
But we're playing fantasy this year, Dave. Unless it's Dynasty League.
No, I'm saying Jalen Hurts is unproven. But
right.
I think he can.
But I thought all the proof was in those last 3 games. The 3 games. I thought all the proof was in those four games.
One of which beat the New Orleans Saints. And anyways, we'll see.
That's real football.
The league will prove everything. The season will prove everything. Poor Tyrod Taylor, guys. This guy can't catch a break. Everywhere he goes, it's like, oh yeah, okay, no, I'm gonna be the starter. No, actually, you're not.
So
sorry.
the only thing I'll say this: the only thing that's hurting Tyrod Taylor is if he has a big aspiration to actually play football. If not, this guy's living the dream. He's getting paid tons of money and never has to take a hit.
Yeah, I think. At that level, sure.
Like Blue Mountain State.
It's not like he's young. It's not like he's young anymore. Like he's at the end of his career.
How old is he? Not that quarterbacks can play a long time. I know he's not like an elite quarterback, but how old is he? 30?
Yeah, let's take a look.
He hasn't been around that long. He's probably 30.
But I mean, like the guy
29?
is. I mean, is he living the dream? Also, like being.
Yeah, you want to play. He wants
31.
31. He wants to play.
I don't know. I honestly, if I was getting paid millions of dollars just to,
he's not like a third string guy who was in the CFL and that got signed to get back up in the NFL.
I always hype up Tyrod Taylor, but I think also not getting my brain smashed in and getting paid millions of dollars is also a really fantastic deal.
That's not bad. It's not a bad deal. All right, moving right along, guys. In the news, Anthony Miller of Anthony's Chicago Bears was traded to the aforementioned Houston Texans for a late-round pick swap. So that's how much the Bears thought of Anthony Miller. Excuse me, which we already knew of. Houston Texans are just collecting everyone's. I don't want to say used parts, but basically, people that aren't wanted anywhere, they're collecting all of them. And then the real news here, I think for redraft, Anthony Miller is a kind of a deep sleeper, maybe, or a sleeper. But the real news to me is this is just another piece of evidence that indicates how much Chicago believes in Darnell Mooney. And he should be the wide receiver 2. Take that for what it's worth on the Chicago Bears. But I'm really high on Mooney. We mentioned him as a marquee. Moose, he was one of your marquees.
Yeah.
Still a mid-round. You can get him late mid-rounds as of right now. All the attention is going to be on Allen Robinson, Roman numeral 2. Darnell Mooney should eat this year.
Also, real quick, just want to throw this in there. Anthony Miller had asked for a trade.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not like Chicago just scrapped him.
I know. He's fed up. I think they're mutually fed up.
But even last year, like just being a Bears fan and watching the games, it doesn't seem like Darnell Mooney was featured more, I found looked a lot better talent-wise than Anthony Miller. Way better. And I mean, with this news as well, Cole Kmet's value goes up, in my opinion. I'm going to jump into some other news that kind of deals with this. Jesse James was signed by the Bears on a 1-year deal. So I think with this news, so now there's 3 tight ends there: Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham. Can
you just clarify for listeners that's Jesse James, the tight end, not the wrestler?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I mean,
not the outlaw.
Not the outlaw Jesse James.
We talk about
Well, with these days, anybody can play tight end these days, right? They're like, sign me up. So we got Jesse James, former Pittsburgh Steeler tight end.
Yeah.
Recently, Detroit Lions tight end.
Recently, Detroit Lions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this was a move made because we all know Jimmy Graham's getting old. He's getting old, and
It's been a long time since we had one of those.
Yeah, and I mean, he did have a decent tight end performance last season, but they probably want to feature Cole Kmet more, and they need a blocking tight end. I know Cole Kmet is supposed to be a pretty decent blocking or above average blocking tight end, but I think they want to use him more as a receiver. They saw that talent last year. There were moments where he shone. And I think Jesse James will be more of a blocking tight end, which I think is what he is.
Yes.
So I think it makes me feel good having Cole Kmet in my dynasty league.
Jesse James had a chance to shine, but if memory serves, he dropped a clutch game-winning touchdown at some point.
No. Sorry,
I knew this would rile Dave up.
That was a touchdown. That was a touchdown. Go back and look at everyone agrees that should have been a touchdown. That was a playoff game.
Yeah.
Playoffs. That cost the Steelers the game. I'm trying to look up. I feel like Jimmy Graham is. I don't even see him playing this year.
I thought Jimmy Graham was retired because
I thought he
was
said
this the last time we brought him up.
Because at the end of his last game, he caught like a touchdown and then just ran out of the building. So I was like, oh, that's it. He's retiring.
That was an epic way to go out if he was, right?
So that's what I thought. I was like, oh, that's Jimmy Graham. That's how he's retiring. Catches a touchdown, just leaves the building.
That was a great
last play ever. But I guess not. So, or unless he is retiring and he was just hanging around until they found another tight end. Who knows?
Well, maybe there's that possibility if he's out playing at camp.
Here we go. From Fox Sports. I don't know how up to date this is. Graham admitted earlier this month, we don't know what month, that he briefly considered retiring after the Bears were eliminated.
This is literally what I read the last
January. Oh, was it the episode where I had one too many beers? That might be why. But
no, it was even further back.
Yeah, this was some time ago.
Yeah, June 30th. This is June 30th.
Yeah, you guys were both disagreed with me that when I said he was still on the team, and I literally read that.
I didn't disagree. I just told you what I thought had happened. I had no confirmation of it. That's like when you retire, like that's what you do. When
you retire, just run right out of the building.
You catch a touchdown, you run out of the building.
I can't move. Can you film when you retire from your career many years from now?
100%.
Sprint right out of the building.
100%.
Yeah, we'll post it on our Instagram.
It would have been a great walk-off touchdown.
Yeah,
well, that's it.
Jimmy Graham. You know what? I really like Cole Kmet, but if Jimmy Graham's there, like I'm not too worried about Jesse James, but if Jimmy Graham's still there, I don't like it. If he does leave, I would absolutely pick up Cole Kmet one of the late rounds because I think Cole Kmet's great. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah,
but you just can't share. They get such little volume tight ends unless you're one of the big guys that you just can't share the load. Like Jimmy Graham had 8 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, but I mean,
too many.
Andy Dalton made a backup tight end fantasy relevant.
Yeah, in the Cowboys scheme. Yeah, but they only had one tight end at that point. They didn't have 2. They weren't using 2.
Yeah, but
now we're talking about a Bears that team's going to be using 3.
But the assumption we're making here is that Jimmy Graham is probably going to retire.
Yeah, he's probably not going to make it through camp.
Oh, if no, that's what I'm saying. If Jimmy Graham retires, Cole Kmet all the way. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, and Tre'Quan for the Bears on the pup list.
I think it's his Achilles. That he's ACL.
Pup list. Player unable to perform.
Yep.
Yeah, he's still working out that ACL tear from last season.
Takes a while. All right. Well, we're almost on to the ultimate news. Before we get there, though, some small news. Dede Westbrook signed with the Vikings. Kind of for redraft. No one's looking his way, right? With Thielen and Jefferson there.
Correct.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not.
I would take him in the late rounds.
You would take him in the late rounds, really? Like the late round, like your last round?
Maybe not even. Maybe just close to the tail, depending on what wide receivers are left. Because
Dede Westbrook or Paris Campbell, Moose? With your late round pick.
Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
But consider. Yeah, but hold on. Do you want me to explain, or do you just want to just leave it at that comparison? That's all you want to hear.
We're winning.
So if you consider that Thielen misses or has missed quite a bit of time,
right?
Dede Westbrook could, see a workload down the stretch, or at any point when Adam Thielen slows down or pulls his hamstring again.
So like a handcuff pick if you take Thielen. Like
Yeah.
if you go running back, tight end, heavy at the beginning, you get a guy like Thielen as your number one receiver.
Yeah. And I don't think what you have to consider about Dede Westbrook is that he was always in a Jaguars team that had rolling quarterbacks, never had any kind of stability, but he was a okay wide receiver. He wasn't the worst. And I just don't think he had the opportunity to play with a team that could really make the pass work. So, I see a path to him, potentially getting some fantasy football relevance, but it'll come at the cost of, potentially Adam Thielen not playing.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I personally don't get excited about Dede Westbrook, but
I'm not excited.
Okay.
But I'm just saying he could be relevant.
Yeah.
While you mentioned the Jags moves, I just have to bring up this Gardner Minshew quote. Like we all know Trevor Lawrence is he's going to be the day one starter. He's the savior of Jacksonville, the franchise quarterback. Gardner Minshew's more of a journeyman type guy. He doesn't have that high draft capital. He's not a big talent, but he was asked about, I guess, preparing to be the backup or whatever. And he goes, or the QB competition for camp, quote unquote. And he goes, in preparation for the competition, I haven't taken a S word in weeks. Number 2 isn't an option for me.
Which I laughed at because he might be number 3 on the team.
Oh, who's going to be number 2? Jake Luton?
No, they picked up CJ Berthard.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much started for San Francisco half the season last year.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're in similar category. I would still put Gardner Minshew ahead. Like he was pretty successful the season before, but I just find it hilarious. This guy, he's really created a fan base for himself off of almost nothing, right? So, gotta love it. OBJ, Anthony, you had OBJ news I thought it looked good in these workout videos, but you're saying he came out and said potentially otherwise.
I don't know how big this news is, but he was basically saying nothing's for certain. He's still kind of in recovery. He's going to be at camp, but that he's just going to keep monitoring his knee, and it could be possible that he misses camp and the first game, but not likely. But he's kind of like toying with the reporters, I think. But with OBJ, I mean, anything's possible. This guy has suffered a lot of injuries. I mean, I'm not high on him. A lot of people, I think, will maybe reach for him thinking that he's going to be the old OBJ, which we haven't seen in quite some time. We've seen flashes of it, but then he gets hurt.
Let me ask you guys this. At what point are you willing to draft Odell Beckham Jr.? At what point does he fall where you're like, all right, the value's there?
Am I allowed to say at no point?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's got to be a point. Okay. Okay. Let's say he drops all the way to the last round. Him or Dede Westbrook moves. Come on. You're taking Odell Beckham Jr. There's got to be a point where you would draft him.
Yeah, but for me, it's not worth the headache of the likelihood of him burning that draft spot. Like he is now consistently getting injured, and the injuries are just getting worse every season.
Or do you just not want to have him because you'd be like you'd feel like you should start him, and then he just burns you because he
I just don't think that the weeks that he does play will be worth the consistency I could probably get from somebody else without the worry of him being just out for the season. And now I've burnt a draft spot because he's not going to get me any points at any point in the season.
Okay, Anthony.
So here,
you pulling up one of your mock drafts?
No. I'm talking about his quote. I feel like in the past I've been caught up in this question, and I'm just not really here for it anymore. It's whenever I'm ready to get out on the field, that's when it'll be. Whenever the team, the docs, my team, everything gets cleared, we'll be ready to go. So whenever that is, week 1, week 17, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just whenever we're ready, we'll be ready. Yeah. So it seems like maybe he's trying to create positive juju, not saying that he'll be ready and then get hurt. He's just, if he's healthy throughout camp and he doesn't get hurt, like he's going to play.
Yeah. This is one of these situations where you hype up, if you know your draft order, you hype up all the guys before you in your league about Odell Beckham so that they take him. And you take somebody else.
Nice.
So just getting back to where I view OBJ, when he went to Cleveland, nobody was ever high on Cleveland. I was like, I don't know what we're going to expect from Minshew, from Cleveland and
Mayfield.
Yeah. So I didn't take him there. I didn't have to deal with that. The year after, I didn't take him because of his injury issues.
History. But you're right.
And yeah, so far I've been right. So I'm not going to take him if he's there in the last round. I mean, he won't make it to the last round.
No, right. So, okay, round 7?
No.
Round 8?
No.
Okay. So
all our marquee guys that we've talked about and sleepers, I would rather take a shot on those guys.
Okay. I was burned by OBJ last year, so I'm probably not going to draft him this year. But
let somebody else take him.
Somebody if he stays healthy and you get him around 8, you're laughing. But that's a big if. We say that with every player, but it's a
or he gets injured and everyone's laughing at you.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's very realistic. All right, last thing before we get to our main topic. Moose, you always talk about we're getting close to fantasy season. There's 2 signs getting close to fantasy season. One of them is
Mike Williams hype.
And I forget what was the other one.
I can't remember.
Let's go back and check. But the Mike Williams hype is the one I wanted to address. So how close are we to fantasy season when Mike Williams starts hyping himself? Because recently he was interviewed in on Pro Football Fantasy, and he said, number 1, I'm going to get a ton of targets this year. Expect that. And he said, pick me if you want to win your leagues. He actually said, pick the kid, referring to himself, if you want to win your leagues. So he's now self-hyping, which can only mean fantasy football is right around the corner.
The second one was Josh Gordon being reinstated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon being reinstated and Mike Williams hype.
And then when we'll know we're like really, really close to the start of the season when Adrian Peterson gets signed somewhere. Yeah. That's how we know we're like real close.
Yes. Or Frank Gore.
Yeah, or Frank Gore.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. The main topic and the big news from this week is, of course, that Michael Thomas had secret surgery to his ankle that he didn't really inform anyone about. And it just happened last week. And so he will miss the start of the season. He could miss from right now up from 12 to 16 weeks, which projects to be around the beginning of November, where he could come back.
Right. Because right now going on the PUP list, you can kind of come back whenever. But if you go on the PUP list to start the season, you're at least out 6 weeks.
PUP list or IR?
PUP list or IR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if he's PUP list to start the year, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good. So for redraft, basically, we're not drafting Michael Thomas anymore. Would you draft him? Is he worth putting on your bench and stashing him there?
I gave that advice last year for Deebo Samuel.
Right.
I would say the same thing for Michael Thomas.
So I will say this. In our main league, our keeper league, Michael Thomas was my keeper. Obviously didn't know he was going to get injured.
Last year. This is last year.
Yeah. And I mean, as my keeper, of course I was not going to drop him. It seemed like every 2 weeks they were saying, oh, he's going to come back soon. And then it was just a nightmare. I kept him on my team the whole season, and it just really, nothing came from it, even when he came back for a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, this is different because you're not taking him as your
early round,
like wide receiver 1. Like you're taking him later on to stash him because nobody's going to draft.
People will forget about him. People will totally forget about him, and then you might be able to get him in round 11, 12, in your last round.
And the best part is, if you take him, you can pop him onto your IR if your league supports IR, and then pick up a late round flyer,
and then go pick up Dede Westbrook. You're laughing.
There you go.
Right. So some, I don't know what it's like on some of the other platforms on Sleeper. They're usually pretty good at listing the players correctly, but I know some platforms, they should be on IR and they're listed as out or whatever other options there is. Sleeper, you have the option to set players that can go onto the IR that have that are selected as out or whatever, so you can adjust that stuff. So hopefully if he starts on the PUP list, he's not under PUP, he's under IR, and then you can put him there. So just keep an eye on that. And I mean, he could still start the season. So at this point, I know we always recommend to our listeners to draft as late as possible, but to the people drafting early, like how far would you drop him now? So we don't know if he's starting the season or starting week 1 or not.
He's for sure not.
So how far do you think he will drop, or where would you be comfortable taking him.
Deebo Samuel was getting taken last year, knowing he was out for a good 4 or 5 weeks. He was getting taken like round 9, 10. I project that's where Michael Thomas will go for people who are savvy.
So instead of Odell Beckham, I'd take Michael Thomas.
Bold, but you know what? They probably play the same amount of games this year.
Yeah, but I think if Michael Thomas comes back healthy, you might get more out of him than Odell.
Oh, you will. With both healthy for the whole season, Michael Thomas would do better. I would think. Just he's the only target there, and that's their offense. Cleveland's offense is running. Okay, well, now here's other implications to do with it now, guys. So Michael Thomas is out. Let's just assume he's out for a while. What does this mean for the New Orleans Saints? So my first question, and the first question in everyone's mind is, does Alvin Kamara get a bump? And Anthony, I know you were already willing to take Alvin Kamara first overall. For those who are ranking out Kamara 3rd, 4th, 5th overall, being virtually their only elite option there, is he worth like first overall pick in redrafts?
So my answer is, how much more of a bump can he get? He's already the best. So
he was the best last year, yeah. But where did you have him ranked this year, Moose? Did you have him ranked first? No, you had him like 3rd, right?
Yeah, I think so.
3rd, 4th. Okay. Would you take him first overall at this point in redraft? With this news, is that a smash?
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset.
Smash pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's top 3, and I guess at that point it's preference. Like if you're a player if you're a team that's worried that McCaffrey is going to re-injure himself with that workload, I mean, go Kamara or go Cook. I mean, you can't go wrong with either or. But I think Kamara, we spoke about this before, that he's one of the few running backs to be in the top 5 or top 10, let's say, like every year. Like he's solidified. I think the last one was LaShawn McCoy. So, I mean, the guy is every year
perennial
to be number 1. Perennial
powerhouse.
Perennial.
Moose, can you look up a really popular perennial flower? Because that's what we're going to call Alvin Kamara.
I think.
Or do you know one off the top of your head?
No, I was going to say tulip, but tulips are not perennials.
Okay.
Maybe
okay. So Kamara, we're loving Kamara. Now, you guys had mentioned pre-podcast that Michael Thomas being out could lend itself to Taysom Hill becoming the starter. Do you think that could be the case? And does that completely switch what you think about Kamara? Because we saw a huge dip from Kamara's production with Taysom Hill at quarterback because he runs so much and vultures touchdowns. Two-part question there for you.
I don't think anything changes for Alvin Kamara. He's still going to be amazing.
No. And I think the little bit of worry that we had in season last year, it was...
Anthony, a little bit of worry. I just stop you right there because I remember one pre-recording last year, you in Dynasty putting Kamara on the trade block in anger and frustration because you're like, if this is how it's going to be with Taysom Hill at quarterback,
right,
I don't want any part of it. You were PO'd, my friend.
He was vexed.
Right.
I was vexed.
So rightfully so.
Yeah.
But I think within two games, it was back to normal. But I think the frustration, it was just with Taysom Hill.
Drew Brees came back?
No, there was still a game.
With Taysom Hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not that Kamara was terrible. He still had some good games, but he wasn't playing that like number. You weren't expecting him to be the number 1 at the end of the week as far as the running backs go.
It was like 10 points.
But now the difference is they have the whole offseason to prepare with one of these quarterbacks and build a game plan, whereas they were just kind of adjusting on the fly. Obviously, Winston wasn't the option because Taysom Hill's been on the team for a while, and he's a running threat. So if he can't throw the ball, he's going to just bulldoze through the line and pick up a few yards and get that first down. So, I mean, it sucked being a Kamara owner for those few weeks, but I think...
But it turned out real good in the end.
Exactly.
If you got into the playoffs,
I mean, it helped Bruce win a championship when Brees came back.
It almost did. Aaron Rodgers almost got just as many points as Alvin Kamara in that week. So, and I was up against the Aaron Rodgers owner, so it was very close.
That's true. Might have been different with Taysom Hill there, but I wouldn't be worried this year, whether it's Winston, whether it's Taysom Hill. The game plan will be figured out well in advance, and Kamara is going to be again, probably the running back in fantasy with the most targets, the best pass catching back in the NFL, and for fantasy, he'll be there again. He had 83 receptions.
Yeah, he had over 80 receptions for like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
I'm looking at his game log. He really only had 2 stinkers there.
Right, but when you're trying to make a fantasy football playoffs and your season's not going well and your best player is not performing for 2 weeks, it's not very good.
Week 11 and week 12, but then yeah.
I mean, if I had solidified myself in a playoff spot, then I'm not as vexed.
Yeah,
but,
and Dynasty's different because you can't really just dump guys, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Not that you would dump Kamara anyways, but
no. Okay,
but yeah. So another guy I have. Oh, yeah. You lead it off.
I wanted to hear your thoughts on first Latavius Murray. On that note, just in general, a lot of people out there are still really high on Latavius Murray as one of those, not just one of those great handcuffs, but one of those great backup running backs to have. Are you guys in that camp? And then what about these receivers, Dante Harris, Tre'Quan Smith, and Marquez Callaway? With Michael Thomas out, whether it's Winston or Hill, do we see any value in one of those receivers?
So let me present you some stats here.
Oh, so we love stats.
So last year, I'll go over Kamara. 932 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns, 756 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Latavius Murray, 656 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 176 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown with 23 receptions. So of the remaining players, he is third as far as receptions, and second behind Kamara was Tre'Quan Smith with 34 receptions for 448 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's not very high for technically your number 1 receiver on the team. Deonte Harris played 9 games only, had 20 receptions, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, but he's more of a Swiss Army knife. He was more of a
returner, special teams guy,
exactly.
You guys ever see Rudy? I mean, I know you've seen Rudy, but last time you've seen Rudy, you remember when John Favreau is watching in the stands? John Favreau's character is watching in the stands, and he goes, "There's Rudy. He's so little." That's what I want to say every time Deonte Harris comes on. He's good though, but he's so little.
Yeah, and he had 51 rushing yards, so there's the little bit of being a Swiss Army knife. Then Marquez Callaway had I think he was a streaming option or like a waiver wire option for a couple weeks.
Was he?
213 yards.
He was
21 receptions
on my list on the way.
Yeah. And then finally, Adam Troutman, 15 receptions, 171 yards, 1 touchdown.
Adam Troutman, known for his fishing skills and for being a very promising young tight end. That's the name I really want to talk about. If you guys talk about Latavius Murray at all or any of these,
so there, let's all pick our favorite.
Okay, well, the question was, is Latavius Murray more than a handcuff? In my opinion, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's just a handcuff. I don't think his receiving will increase a lot, but I mean, if Kamara gets a huge workload, I mean, they might bring Latavius Murray on the field a little bit more than last year, because 2 years ago, Latavius Murray, I believe, had more rushing yards and more touchdowns. I can follow up with that.
Yes. The year Kamara was dealing with knee issues. So
yeah, but still finished high.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray, I have it here. He actually had a little bit less. He had 637.
Hold on. Are you telling us these stats or are you presenting us these stats?
I'm giving you the actual stats.
Yeah, but are you presenting it? Because I need visuals if you're going to present it for YouTube listeners.
Okay, no, I'm telling you. Thanks, Dave, for clearing that up for our listeners. So yeah, he had 637 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. So he had a little bit less rushing yards, but 1 more touchdown. But he almost doubled his receiving yards.
This is 2019.
Yeah, 235, 1 touchdown. So I mean, he's gonna do about that again. So Moose is right. Nothing more than a handcuff.
He's one of those players that if Kamara is healthy, I don't really want to start Latavius Murray in my RB slot.
No.
You know? So
you can't predict the games that he'll be.
Yes, exactly.
Good.
He could get 5 points or could get 15. You don't know.
Right.
So Adam Troutman, I talked about him a few episodes ago in our episode entitled the best sleepers you'll ever see, where I talked about Gerald Everett and Adam Troutman, as if you can't get one of those top tight ends, but we advise you to get one of the top tight ends, that these guys in the later rounds could be gems. Now, with Michael Thomas out, that's got to be even more true for Adam Troutman. And I think the main thing I pointed to in that argument was Jared Cook's stats. So, Anthony, you got all these windows and tabs opened up on your computer. I'm envisioning you with like 3 or 4 screens in front of you. So if you can drum up Jared Cook's stats on one of those tabs that you had, he had something like 80 targets last year.
Jared Cook.
Yeah.
So what if Jameis Winston is the quarterback?
Yeah.
Is Taysom Hill the starting tight end?
No, because he's the backup, so he can't get hurt. They'll bring him in every now and then.
Yeah,
He'll be a red zone guy, he'll be a gadget
true.
guy, he'll have some series. But Adam Troutman would fill the Jared Cook role. Which
Jared Cook had 37 receptions, 504 yards, 7 TDs.
Yeah, 7 tutties. Decent for a tight end. How many targets, though? He caught 37 of...
pulling that up now.
So many drops. So many drops for Jared Cook.
So many drops.
So many drops. There should be a song about drops. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's
60 targets.
60 targets. You give Adam Troutman 60 targets, I think he's going to do quite well.
But I don't think...
For a tight end.
So, I mean, the interesting thing about
Michael
Adam...
Thomas out.
Right. The interesting thing about Adam Troutman, we know that he's a great blocking tight end. And...
Do we know that?
Well, he is a blocking tight end. But drafting him so high in the rookie draft, I mean, I'm thinking that their mindset was to use him in all aspects of that tight end position as a receiver, so on and so forth. So, I mean, definitely he's going to be featured in that role. I don't know. Like, I don't think I agreed with him as a sleep. He was your sleeper?
He was a sleeper.
Yeah, so I don't think he's a sleeper tight end. Even though he's the only one there, I would beer bet you that Cole Kmet will still be better than him with the 3 guys there.
I'll take it. Snap it in the sand.
But what happens if Jimmy Graham retires?
Adam Troutman.
What
Adam
happens
Troutman
if Jimmy
Cole
Graham retires?
I'll still take Adam Troutman.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What's the beer bet?
Adam
Troutman versus Kmet.
Anthony, extend your hand towards me on the camera and shake on it.
That's
YouTube. You got to see that virtual handshake on YouTube. Adam Troutman versus Cole Kmet. That's a great one. What a fun one.
So what, Dave? What makes you think that Troutman's just going to suddenly jump up this season? Just that Michael Thomas is gone?
There's no one to throw the ball to. Tre'Quan Smith, Marquez Callaway, and Deonte Harris. God love him. Adam Troutman's the best receiver of all 4 of those guys. Kamara's their best receiver.
And what makes you say that?
It's a pretty bold statement.
Picked round 3, 105 overall, which is, unless your name's Kyle Pitts, huge for tight end. They invested a lot in him, and like the evidence was there last year from the few times he was targeted. I think it's a necessity option here, guys. There's just no one else. I think they're going to have to factor him into
I just think you're really underestimating Tre'Quan Smith and Deonte Harris.
But think, there's room. There's okay. Like, even if he just gets Jared Cook numbers, he'll be good. And then you factor in Michael Thomas is out. That was even more receptions to go around. He's gonna eat. He's gonna eat. It's all about volume. With tight ends, it's all about double volume. Unless your name's Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller.
I mean, Jared Cook numbers. I mean, if you expect Adam Troutman to get to Jared Cook numbers, like we were disappointed with Jared Cook's numbers last year, but those are hard numbers to achieve, especially at this tight end position in fantasy that we always talk about, that it's so hard to like the gap is so large between the top tier guys and the middle of the pack guys.
Listen, it's no guarantee, Adam Troutman, but he's as good a sleeper as you can get. Him versus Kmet is perfect beer bet for the season, I think. If Jimmy Graham leaves, then it's fair. Jimmy Graham stays. I think
it's still. He beat out Troutman last year. Jimmy Graham finished higher than Jared Cook. Jared Cook didn't play well, in my opinion, because I watched a lot of games because I have Kamara on my dynasty team.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham finished higher than Jared Cook. Yeah, thank you. So if Jimmy Graham continues to do that, then
and so with that point that I was making, Cole Kmet still had more yards. He was 28 receptions, 243, 2 touchdowns, 2 tutties.
2 tutties.
So, I mean, he was better last year. He'll be better again this year. Don't draft Adam Troutman. But as a Tre'Quan Smith owner...
Yeah, I'm not saying don't draft Cole Kmet. I'm not saying that.
No, I know.
If you want to draft Cole Kmet, I love Cole Kmet. I picked Cole Kmet up last year off the waiver wire in a few leagues.
So for me, to me, Tre'Quan Smith is the guy. I've been high on this guy. He hasn't really had that breakout season yet. I think this is the perfect season for him to build a rapport with one of the QBs. I think the interesting one is, I think it's Moose's guy, Deonte Harris. I mean, when you draft rookies, either offensive type players, they usually go to the special teams. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for Deonte Harris to move into a more wide receiver role. And because he is a Swiss Army knife, kind of like, he could be a Curtis Samuel type player. He will be the third receiving option there as far as wide receivers. But we'll see how camp goes, which one breaks out. But I think he will surpass Marquez Callaway.
The danger with these guys is that Sean Payton is such a genius that he will figure out a way for his offense to roll using all of these guys, and thus they each limit each other's relevance. But even in that case, I feel like as a tight end, Adam Troutman doesn't need that much volume to be very relevant in the tight end game, whereas those other 3 receivers could cancel each other out. Moose, I want to hear from you. Who do you like? Who do you like? Who do you don't?
Well, I think Tre'Quan Smith is the guy who's going to benefit the most.
Okay.
Then Deonte Harris and Marquez Callaway. Again, my thing with the Saints is it's not really the wide receivers; it's the quarterback situation. Jameis needs to be throwing it to his own players, but I think if he is, I don't see why these guys have. We always talk about opportunity; they have all the opportunity now.
Yes.
Yeah. Tre'Quan Smith is a big boy. I think he'll be the receiver that gets the touchdowns, will have the most touchdowns on the team. I think maybe Deonte Harris or Callaway could be the guy with the yardage. But, I mean, we'll have to pay attention closely to camp because one of these guys I think, will have the value on these guys. Like, the stock will rise on where they're drafted, for sure. So we got to keep our eye on this team.
I like Tre'Quan. I do like Tre'Quan Smith. I think there's plenty of room for him. Kamara's going to be great regardless. I think there's plenty of room for Tre'Quan Smith and Adam Troutman to both eat. And then everyone else, we'll see what happens. But I would lean towards Tre'Quan Smith, but amongst the receivers. I love it. What great discussion today. Anthony, you getting ready for the next segment? You hyped?
Yeah, I'm hyped.
Well, good, because it's time for They Said
Beautiful. I like it. You always sound great, Dave. Actually, there was one time you didn't, but it was great this time.
Sure. Just
we gotta humble you a little bit sometimes.
Time. Yeah. Just that one time.
So I don't really know how to pronounce this, but user A Shot Mueller. A Shot Mueller. AJ Dillon versus Javonte Williams. Dynasty trade 1 QB. I have Dillon and wasn't sure if I should try and make a move on Williams. The Aaron Jones owner has Williams, and I think I can make a deal. Who would you rather have? 12-team, full PPR, Dynasty, like mentioned before.
Can you say his name one more time?
A-Shot Mueller?
Mueller?
Or Ascot Mueller? I don't know.
Ascot would make sense. And Ascot's like one of those little...
Yeah, but I don't know if it's spelled like
clips.
that. ASCHOTT.
I don't know. I don't think that's how you spell Ascot.
Anyways,
we'll have to look that
up. We're
going
to answer your question anyways. Can't say your name, but we'll answer your question. Anyone want to lead us?
I mean, to me, it's with all due respect to the players involved and to the question, and maybe it's a good question because listen, both Javonte Williams and AJ Dillon are an injury away from being the starting running back on a team that would really support a high-end fantasy running back, being the Denver Broncos for Javonte Williams, the Green Bay Packers for AJ Dillon. Now, without an injury, barring an injury, who has the most upside? I think it's, to me, I think it's quite clear it's going to be Javonte Williams. I think that if you compare Melvin Gordon, the incumbent in Denver, versus Aaron Jones, the incumbent in Green Bay, Aaron Jones is far better. So if you're the Green Bay Packers, you're going to want to give Aaron Jones the ball a lot. If you're the Denver Broncos, I'm not sure you want to give Melvin Gordon the ball that much. I think Javonte Williams has a pathway to supersede Melvin Gordon and take the starting role regardless of injury. I think A.J. Dillon will be a fine backup option, could get some goal line work, but really to be an elite fantasy option is waiting for an Aaron Jones injury or absence to take over. Whereas Javonte Williams, I think, doesn't need that injury to take over. Do you guys agree with that?
I disagree on the assumption that Green Bay is going to be a starter and a backup. I think it could easily be a full-blown committee in Green Bay this season. The advantage that Javonte Williams has over A.J. Dillon is that, if they do feature Aaron Jones more, they just signed him to a 4-year contract. So that means, he's going to be there for another 4 years where, Javonte Williams could be, the guy. I think Melvin Gordon maybe has this season left on his contract. I don't know. Someone might be able to put up, but even still, he'll likely surpass Melvin Gordon this season.
Mm-hmm. But you think Green Bay could be a committee?
They've already been talking about it quite a bit.
Well,
the rumors are that they're going to be, the old 1-2 punch.
And well, to be fair, Jamal Williams as the backup last year was very relevant in fantasy throughout the season, even with Aaron Jones playing. So, if A.J. Dillon gets that kind of volume, then yeah, there's a role for him. I just really think that Javonte Williams' role could be the number one.
Yeah, which we've already heard news about that they want to feature him as the number one back. And so I'm gonna disagree a little bit with Moose. I know that it's not with Moose, with the news that has come out from I don't know if it was the beat writers or whatever, but I don't think it'll be a committee over there in Green Bay. I think A.J. Dillon is a different style runner than Jamal Williams was or is. But I think Aaron Jones, he's 26. Like Moose said, he has 4 more years. I can see touchdowns being vultured, but I don't see A.J. Dillon digging in or taking some of significant yardage away from Aaron Jones's stat line. I think Aaron Jones is still elite. I think you have to look at it this way. The owner that has Aaron Jones in this users league, he's going to use Aaron Jones for a while. He doesn't have to worry about Aaron Jones fizzling out yet. So I mean, it depends. You would have to see what other running backs this user has, because if he's going to keep Javonte Williams, especially with the news, or he's going to want to keep him, especially with the news that he might be the number one over in Denver. So you would
is this a dynasty trade, Anthony?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Dynasty trade.
I mean, long-term, A.J. Dillon certainly has long-term prospects, but would you rather have A.J. Dillon or Javonte Williams in dynasty? Just flat out.
Now, I guess if you hit on Javonte Williams, you would rather Javonte Williams. Now, A.J. Dillon is more an investment for the long run. So, I mean, his mindset.
Why not both? The guy already. Yeah. Oh, I guess they already drafted.
Yeah. So he wants to try and acquire Javonte Williams. So, I mean, try, but
yeah, I wouldn't. Maybe you have someone else on your team. Don't necessarily give up A.J. Dillon.
Is the trade Jamal Williams for Javonte Williams? No, it's Javonte Williams for A.J. Dillon.
He wants to try and give up. He's saying he wants Javonte Williams from the other team. He has A.J. Dillon that he wants to offer up to him. That's his trade bait.
Smash play for me.
But he's probably going to have to be realistic. He's probably going to have to package. So A Shot or Ascot Mueller, you're going to have to package somebody else, most likely with A.J. Dillon to get Javonte Williams, because now with the news coming out about Javonte Williams is not helping your case. With him being a number one, potentially number one RB, and Melvin Gordon is in his final year of his contract. So
he's done. Probably have to package. If he even makes it to camp, hopefully someone's driving him there. So I would go Javonte Williams for A.J. Dillon. I would take that in a heartbeat. I would take Javonte Williams' side of the deal. Smash it in dynasty. Smash it.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, it's not going to be that simple. I don't think the guy will do a 1-for-1 trade. So you'll have to package somebody with AJ Dillon.
And
what I'm saying is, I don't like, unless you want Javonte Williams that bad, I don't think you should be upset with AJ Dillon.
Right.
No, but if you can go 1-for-1, I would make that trade. Now, listen, if you have AJ Dillon, if it's snowing, start AJ Dillon. Because that one game in the snow in the playoffs, he was untackleable. So if it's raining or snowing, I feel like AJ Dillon will go for 200 yards. He's hard to tackle. He's hard to tackle either way, but in the snow or the rain, it's just not happening. He's a beast. I hope AJ Dillon does get some playing time, because he's going to be one of those players that's fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. I'm on a beer too. I finished my Cutthroat West Coast Ale, which had a hilarious pun at the top, by the way. The best things in life are Tree, from Tree Brewing Company. So victorious, so West Coast. And that was Cutthroat in regards to the NFL and their COVID restrictions and Aaron Rodgers and business. And then I've moved on to the Sneaky Weasel, which is now 30% sneakier. It's a real craft lager.
How did it get more sneakier?
Well, I think it's just hilarious. It's from Balderdash Beer Brewing Company. Balderdash Brewing Company. So Sneaky Weasel. And to me, this was in honor of Michael Thomas, that Sneaky Weasel who had ankle surgery without telling anyone. That's a Sneaky Weasel move. Thank goodness we found out before draft season. And that's why you draft late. We talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because of injuries. It's not because of preparation, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're already prepared for your draft if you've been up to date, and you have an advantage over your league mates. But for injuries or Andrew Luck retiring, just do it later. That Sneaky Weasel. Thank goodness. Anthony, you don't have to keep Michael Thomas and get burned. You're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome. But that's Sneaky Weasel there. What are you guys drinking?
I just have a Corona. Nothing special.
Oh, a little summer beer.
A little summer beer.
Corona.
I wasn't going to drink. Then they made me feel bad, and I didn't have any beer. So I'm having a El Dorado 12-year rum from Guyana, which is part of my background.
Which I just learned today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anthony's Guyanese, if you guys were wondering.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying a nice one with, my last name's Harrison on my Scotch glass there, a little H.
Which I was going to say has an H on it for those listening.
Yeah, that's true for our listeners.
Yeah. YouTube, you couldn't even see it on YouTube either. So
really?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't see the H.
Anthony, I feel like you'd be interested in this. I flipped on the new Masters of the Universe remake, which
He-Man?
So He-Man? Did I.
Yeah. He-Man.
Is it a new movie?
No, it's an animated TV show.
Oh.
I don't know. I fell asleep. I was really tired, so I fell asleep. But I think it was like Mike Williams. I got really hyped, and it was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and then conked out after, and it didn't keep me into it. So I mean, I'll finish it, but I'm not that impressed with it.
Yeah. A lot of big name voice actors. Quite a few from Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll check it out. I will definitely check it out. I like it. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, this was a super fun episode. Finally, I just want to send one last shout out. It's July 25th today. It's my man Connor's birthday, known as Connor the bartender on this podcast. But it's Connor the birthday boy today, and but really in my heart, Connor the friend. So happy birthday, Connor.
Also, hey Connor, you share a birthday with Alvin Kamara.
Oh, it's Alvin Kamara's birthday. Shout out Alvin Kamara.
Birthday.
And we talked about him forever. Alvin Kamara. Happy birthday, buddy. There's a video on the internet of him dancing with a parrot on his head. So there's that. All right, guys, words of wisdom as we part.
Always put your best gut forward. And in these 295 Kelvin days, wear some sunscreen. And follow your fire regulations in your campsites. No forest fires, please. No man-made forest fires.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, as always, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Ciao.